What's going on, you guys? Welcome back to Traffish Aquatics. Today we're going to be setting up the filtration on the garden pond. So how we're going to do that is I have some gravel we're going to wash up, and we're going to put that in the upper pond as the substrate. That's going to allow the bacteria somewhere to grow and colonize. And then we're going to be adding a lot of plants to the upper pond so that any nitrate that is produced by the bacterial colonies can be absorbed that way and keep this pond as clean as possible. As we're working on the pond, you're going to notice it has grown some green water, which that is perfectly fine. That's going to help keep the ammonia, nitrite, and nitrates down as well, as the phytoplankton in there is consuming that. But as the nutrients get used up by the plants, the phytoplankton will die off, and the water will become clear again. And green water is not harmful to your fish at all, so I'm not worried about that. It's actually beneficial. A lot of small fish and baby fish will actually eat that. And it also darkens the water to keep them safe from predators. So, not worried about the green water. Let's go ahead and get the filtration system set up on the pond. So the first thing we're going to do is I've got a 5-gallon bucket right here full of pea gravel, and I have this 2x4 framework with a stone screen in the bottom. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to dump the pea gravel on there, we're going to wash it, and then we're going to put it into the upper portion of the pond up here and create our substrate on the bottom. So let's go ahead and do that. Alright, so now that the gravel is clean, we're going to go ahead and we're going to add it in as the substrate of our upper pond. Alright, so now that all the gravel substrate's in, we're going to go ahead and we're going to start adding some of our plants. Now, I tried to pick on plants that are both aquatic and marginal. Now, marginal plants are going to be the ones that you find in wetlands and around swamps and natural springs that aren't necessarily growing in the water, but are in some very moist soil. So they're the ones that you're going to find around the swamps and natural springs. So the plants of my choice that I'm going to put in there, the aquatic plants, are going to be Java fern, and they're going to be attached to a tree-like structure. So that way they're not necessarily sitting on the bottom, they're up a little bit to give the fish a little bit of aerial protection. And that's all I'm going to put in the upper pond as far as aquatic plants. For marginal plants, we got some elephant ear, as well as some plantain lilies. I got a couple different kinds of plantain lilies. So in this upper pond, there's actually a shelf. I don't know if you can see it right here. That goes across the back and around the corner. I'm going to put those plants up there, so they're only going to have the bottom of the pot in water, and then the rest of the dirt and everything is going to be above water, so the dirt is going to stay moist, but not flooded. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to add those plants in there, and that's basically going to be the filtration part of this pond. So filtration is mainly going to be the gravel for biological, and nutrient export for nitrates and such are going to be the plants. So once everything's in here and everything gets established and is doing well, it's going to keep this water very clean. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to start showing you guys these plants and putting them in. So here we go. Alright, so this next plant that I'm going to put in is a plant that you can use in an aquarium inside as well. It doesn't necessarily have to be in a lot of light. It grows very well in low light. But as long as you acclimate it to high light and being outside, the plant will do fine. I've done that for about 2 weeks with this plant. I kept it outside in the shade for a while, and then I moved it to indirect light outside, and then it's been in the pond actually for about a week and a half now. And that plant is Pothos. So this is a golden pothos that I bought, and I've taken some trimmings and I've put them on the tanks inside, and this plant itself has been growing in the pond, and you can see it's shooting off runners already, which wasn't doing that about a week ago, so it's doing very well. And all I'm doing is I'm setting the base of the pot, maybe this much of it, into the water, so that way it can absorb all the nutrients out of the water, and then the soil doesn't stay super wet, just like the rest of all these plants. So I just wanted to show you guys this. This plant does an excellent job at nutrient export and absorbing nitrates. So if you're looking at a plant that can grow outside of your aquarium or in a pond, something like this, Pothos is a very good option for you. Alright guys, so as far as the filter goes, that is basically going to be the setup. Very, very simple and very rudimentary for a pond. Just biological filtration and nutrient export. I also have some additional plants in the lower portion of the pond. Only 2. But as you can see right here, I have some frogbit growing. And the reason I put frogbit in here is because it does grow very fast. It absorbs a lot of nitrate and excess nutrients out of the water. So it's going to help keep the water clean, as well as it's going to grow and provide shade for the fish that are in here to keep the water a little cooler. And then it's also going to provide protection from any outside predators, which we don't really get any predators around here. The worst case you're going to find is a raccoon or a blue heron, but generally we don't see those around here that much. So that's why the frogbit's in there. And then in the previous video you saw I added a pond lily in the back corner over here. And the big long leaves and lily pads that were on that have died off, and it's starting to shoot new small lily pads, which I figured that was going to happen because it has to acclimate to these water conditions and light conditions and everything else versus what was in the aquarium. So I'm waiting for that to grow back in. But for right now, what we're going to do is we are going to go get the fish and we are going to put them in the pond. What we're going to be doing for a start is I have 4 fancy goldfish that are going to go in the lower portion of the pond, and I have 10 or 11 zebra danios that are going to be going in the upper portion of the pond. And if you're wondering about the pond temperature, this fluctuates anywhere from 78 to 82 degrees during the day and drops down to about 76 to 78 at night. So these guys are only going to be out here for the summer and fall, and once the water temperatures start dropping down between 72 and 74 degrees at night, everybody's going to get brought back inside. Even though the goldfish can handle much lower temperatures, I know the zebra danios really can't. So they're all going to get brought back in. This is just going to be a summertime home for them. So without further ado, let's go get some fish. Alright guys, so the first fish that we're going to be adding is going to be the zebra danios. And I have them in a breeder box, which is a clear container. And I'm going to show them to you. That way you guys get an idea of what they are if you aren't familiar. But I'm pretty sure everybody knows what zebra danios are. Very hardy fish, right? They're a light spawner, so when daylight comes up, they start spawning. As long as they are fed well and healthy and of age, they'll spawn, lay eggs, which that's another reason for putting the gravel in. The eggs can fall into that, hatch out, and then there's lots of bacteria and stuff there for the fry to eat, in addition to me feeding them as well. So we're going to go ahead, we're going to get these guys added in. I will probably add more zebra danios into this upper pond in the next week or 2. I'm just waiting for my local fish store to get more in. So let's go ahead and get these guys in the pond. Alright guys, so I went and got the goldfish. So this is going to be the start of the stock in the pond. There are 3 Ryukins and 1 Oranda. So I don't know if you guys can see all of them from there. But a couple little guys, they're only about 2.5 to 3 inches long. So they're going to be the start. I'm only doing 4 for right now. I might bump it up to 6 or 7, depending on how the plants do and how the nutrient export is in the pond. So we're going to go ahead and get these guys in there. And I do have 10 more zebra danios inside, and I'm debating on adding them to the pond. I'm not 100% sure yet, but we'll see what happens. So let's get these guys in the pond. Alright guys, so I thought about it for a little while and I decided that I was going to add the rest of the zebra danios I had in. I have 21 total. I wanted to do 10 inside, 11 out here, and see how they bred differently, to see if it was a viable option to do summer tubbing, if it actually helped them, or if aquarium keeping and breeding in an aquarium was easier or better. But I can always get more, so I figured I would take what I have, get them out here, and then I'll just get more this weekend because they're not that expensive. So let me show you the other 10 that we've got here. So these ones generally are a little bit larger. So there are more females in this group, where the other group there was a couple more males. So hopefully we'll be able to get a lot of breeding out of them and get a lot of zebra danios out of it. So we'll go ahead and add these guys back into the pond over here in the upper portion. Alright guys, all the fish are in the pond and the filtration's all set up, so that's pretty much going to be it for this video. As things clear up, as the water gets a little clearer and not so green, I'll do an update so we can see all the fish and see if we got any fry swimming around from the zebra danios. As soon as I put the zebra danios in the pond, they all started swimming around and chasing each other, so that's a good sign. They're being very active. And actually some of them pushed each other off of the little waterfall here. So now I have about 4 or 5 zebra danios in the bigger pond. They're definitely too big for the goldfish to eat and a little bit too quick. So I'm not super worried about that, because eventually this whole pond is probably going to be filled with zebra danios. So we'll go ahead and we'll get some B-roll and we'll finish up this video. But for now, thank you guys for watching Traffish Aquatics. Links as always in the description down below, and I will see you guys in the next video.